We are live. It is Jack Mack. I'm here with Lee. Um, Big Ev's traveling. We have Robbie in Europe. So it's just me and Lee today, which is phenomenal. Just how we like it sometimes. We wish the other guys could have been here, but they can't. So we are live. Right. We're about 24 hours away from the card starting. Low key, not a bad card. I know it's a huge college football Saturday. One of the one of the best boxing. Oh my God, my voice! One of the best boxing fights we've seen in a while in terms of on paper. But this UFC card, I think, has some interesting matchups. Before we get into that, let's talk about our friends over at DraftKings. I apologize for it going over my face, but over at DraftKings, the roller coaster of an NFL season is moving right along, and it promises to be a month full of tricks, treats, and of course, touchdowns. And DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is the number one place to bet on touchdowns. Running it from the one or an 80-yard bomb, we don't care how they score touchdowns. We want to bet on them. DraftKings heard us and is delivering. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your pick. You can even do that during the games with their live betting features. Here's a reason for new customers to do a touchdown dance of their own. Bet $5 to get 200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the number one place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BACKFIST. That's code BACKFIST for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. And let me get back to the frame. What's up, Lee? We are here. News-wise, before we get into the card,
Protest.
anything big on your? I mean, we have we saw McGregor today at the BKFC weigh-ins. Ben the Bane Davis, who is an iconic MMA Twitter legend, will be fighting tomorrow. But outside of that, anything else on your mind?
Him and Oscar. That's gonna be a fun. Like I can't believe they're actually doing that. That's gonna be fun in regardless. Carlos Prates getting a main event.
Yes.
He was rumored against Randy Brown for 309 or 310, but he's getting the big main event, the coveted UFC Vegas 100 slot.
Oh my God, I truly cannot believe we are looking at UFC Vegas 100.
Triple
And
digits.
speaking of fights, cancellations, and whatnot, brutal news, obviously, for this card. Chris Barnett out. That was the main event of the night for me. I mean, that was must watch. I don't care what was going on. It could be the last quarter of a football game, last 2 minutes. Chris Barnett is must watch television.
Yeah. That sucks. I think he was caught basically within the hurricane zone for in Florida. So I think that was the reason why he pulled out. But hopefully he's all good. But yeah, Huggy Bear was a mainstay for this card. And really, and he got a much, I think, an easier fight in Junior Tafa than it would have been against Waldo. Waldo, I think,
100%.
Waldo just would have done what he usually does and just jabs him to death.
That, honestly, Waldo was a nightmare matchup for him, more so than a lot of other guys who were better than Waldo.
Yeah.
Amanda Nunes has kind of hinted at, she said, Dana, call me, which, I mean, we all know this is. She's like, once Kayla's ready, which, I mean, how would they do it, though? We also just had this bizarre main event, our co-main, where I think everybody on MMA Decisions gave it to Raquel Pennington. It was my biggest bet of the night. The UFC betting here for me has been a disaster. Thank God we bet responsibly, but has been a disaster. And Raquel Pennington, I thought won that fight pretty not clearly, but I thought that was her. Like 135,
Yeah.
if I recall correctly.
Oh, four.
Four. Thank you. Now
Do you-
Pena wins. No one wants to see Pena Nunez.
right?
Again.
Nobody does.
No, who wants to see that again?
Do you though think that Nunez would come back though to get the trilogy with Pena? I think that she just doesn't like Pena at all, and would like, even though it may be an easier fight, like to stack that, it's almost better if she comes back in her return fight to get the biggest fight against Kayla.
I actually agree from the point of view of also big payday. Like you could go in there, run through Pena, and then Kayla will fight. But who would? Maybe it's just
Kayla's getting next shot.
So, but Kayla's also discussing how 135 destroys her, which I mean, we all know that. So, do they just say, fuck it, we're bringing back the 145-pound belt and it's Amanda against Kayla? And then, I don't know what to do.
I think that they should just combine 135 and 145 and just do a 140-pound weight class.
Okay. And then you kind of, there's, wait, when Norma Dumont recently fought, where did she fight? 135?
35. Yeah. She made 35, but that was the first time that she made 35 against Aldana in a long time. She was normally a 45er, but I think it's just these 45ers are sometimes like a little too big, and in Kayla's case, she's way too big. I know that Dana wouldn't want to do it. I think that maybe it would be like last case scenario, but I think maybe if you just put it up as like a super fight and you put that as a co-main event somewhere or a main event, like at 145 rather than 135, I think that it sells exactly the same.
Yeah, and I think if there's one fight, I mean, there's a few out there, but like the number one fight everyone wants to see right now in women's MMA is Kayla against Amanda. Obviously, we'd love to see, there's a big fight next weekend in the PFL, but between Pacheco and Cyborg, but a top tier fight is this Amanda against Kayla, and it needs to happen. And now UFC's in this weird spot with like Pena. Like, what do you do? And also, I understand, and the UFC's done a lot. They were kind of like before the whole women's sports kind of renaissance and movement. They've always put them on pay-per-view cards and whatnot, but I don't know if you can put a Juliana Pena fight at the top of a pay-per-view card ever again, or even
it should be a free pay-per-view, like truly, like how Figgy was in the Apex, like during the height of COVID. Like that's what it should be next, in my opinion. I don't think that necessarily. Juliana Pena doesn't move the needle anywhere near what Kayla Harrison or Amanda Nunes does. Like that's just the truth. And
but then you have this tough spot where it's like you can't just strip her. Like
no, but she took 2 years off before this. I don't know how long it's going to be before she seemed pretty dead set on facing Amanda next and not Kayla. So I think if the UFC comes back and it's like, hey, we want Kayla to fight next, I bet they give Kayla some time off. Obviously, they can't. Like the weight cuts obviously aren't going to like be that fast in happening. Like it's not going to get turned around very quickly. But 6 months, 9 months, like next International Fight Week 2025 for Harrison Pena, that seems about right.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I mean, but Harrison continues to get a little bit like these women are getting a little bit older. It's not the clock is ticking on them in terms of their careers. They still look really good.
And Kayla's gonna have to make 135. Like she made 136 in this last time and looked like that.
And and that extra pound.
That extra pound, everybody talks about it, is the difference. So
It's it'll be interesting to see what they do there. They have a big 135-pound problem, but the big thing, I mean, they signed Kayla knowing that Amanda wants wants to come back. I'm sure or Amanda probably wants more money, which good for her. Like, and they'll figure something out.
yeah,
Um,
Dana and her have a good relationship.
and then I saw one other thing that I wanted to.
What did you think of Dana White's Contender Series on Tuesday? I legitimately think that might be one of like the best, like in terms of best talent. That this week maybe we might see four, like out of the four guys that got put into the UFC, all four could be top 15 at one point in the same week. I feel pretty solid about that.
Yeah, that was probably the best week so far. Not to say that Dana White's Contender Series has given us some bums, but there's been some less than talented guys out there, and it felt like a truly great card too. It was the best week in a little bit. What's his name? Vakitov. I thought is somebody that's a serious name, and then also that body shot by what's his name?
Cody Steele.
That's another a guy that he got a contract, right?
Cody Steele got one, and then the German Dagestan guy Dulatov.
Dulatov, yep. So I mean those are some names we'll keep an eye on. This card has some Dana White's Contender Series guys on it. Even a guy that fought not too long ago. There's one other thing I wanted to bring up. Dana keeps hyping up 310.
Yeah. I put out a tweet the other day, like around what fights have been announced yet, for the most part, for 310.
Anthony
And
Smith.
that looks like a great, like, if you're just saying like those are like maybe one of those fights are on the main card and the rest of those are prelims, that's a good card.
Yeah, and let's say Gane and Sterling are on the main card, but they're like the fourth and fifth best fight, or even third and fourth best fight on the card. Like in terms of where you're putting them at main card versus not. I mean it's really good. I mean, there's a lot of great names on it too. And who do you think the main will be there? Do you think it'll be Bilal Shavkat?
I think that's the hope right now. If because you got to think about it this way, right? It's not going to be heavyweight. Like Jones is fighting at 309. 205, Alex is taking some time off. 85, I mean, Drickus isn't fighting till they're talking about February, Sydney.
Yep.
For him. 70's open for Bilal Shavkat.
Yep.
Islam's talking about January.
Yeah, because he's still getting over that wrist injury, or maybe it's just his whatever it was.
45's happening this month in October. Ilya versus Max. 35 Marab is versus Umar. That's I think sometime early 2025. And then flyweight is open. I think Pantoja
against the guy from Risen.
Yeah, I think December usually has two title fights, right? Like they usually go all out for this one. It would make sense to me that they would do Shavkat versus Bilal, and they would do Asakura versus Pantoja, or Cara France versus Pantoja, something, right? Like they're probably going to do two title fights.
Yeah.
One and probably one more big fight on top of that. A Hooker versus Moicano, or Patty Moicano, or something big enough.
And Patty, I think, was suggesting December is when he's going to fight next. Yeah. Obviously that could change, but I feel like he even maybe he got asked something, or he was tweeting something. So I think that card's gonna be great. It'll be a great bookend to the year.
I bet that full card will be announced for during 308. That's my guess.
Yeah, and we're approaching 308, which I mean is a
I'm so excited.
308's disgusting, and also, I mean, just you could have the worst card ever, and then the main event is like
Yeah,
a fight of, in terms of anticipation, just a huge, like one of the biggest fights we've been around for. But outside of there's still a lot out there. So yeah, I mean, they're in a weird spot, but in a good spot, and then we'll see. Now, we didn't do a recap after 307, which people were just out of town. It didn't work. Do you think Ankalaev has to be next?
I mean, could you do Rakic if Rakic beats Ankalaev? Sure, but
Sure.
like if Ankalaev wins, I feel like he has to be next. Like truly,
Yeah.
and then after that, it maybe gets a little dicey because like Krylov is fighting Mirzakhanov on 309 New York, so maybe that winner is like the next one after that. It seems like Jamal Hill has a fight, but
Yep.
not going to be for the title. Um,
But I mean, let's say, and
Jan,
this
Jan's
is a,
hurt.
and then I mean, they couldn't give Olberg a shot out after a win against Vulcan, right? Or could they?
I that could like Vulcan's on a streak, man.
Yeah, Vulcan's
Like,
and
he's turning it
Vulcan's
he's turning it around.
Vulcan's gone from like, oh, he had a lot of potential, whatnot, to like, oh my God, Vulcan Ozdemir is. I mean, you want to talk great fights. That's a great fight, November 24th, right before Thanksgiving, the Saturday before. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, Olberg's a guy that I think they know they can sell. Like that's after seeing what Roundtree against Poton was. I'm sure UFC's kind of like Poton Olberg is.
Yeah.
I think a live fight's cool, but it's kind of it's almost more for at least me Poton's true MMA legacy. Out because but then Olberg's a fight where it's like you tell everyone about.
Yeah. I like me personally, like as a gambling like fan, I'd want to see Krylov because
Okay.
Krylov, like with the wrestling, would be the fight that would like cement him as like, oh, he's actually faced a wrestler. He's actually faced like this guy that's not just gonna straight up bang, cardio issues maybe. Because I think what happened with Roundtree, you could honestly apply the same to Olberg, where like against Jung in round three, he was slowing down heavily,
Yep.
and that was kind of what we were saying about Khalil in this fight. So I there's a lot of options for Poetan moving forward. Like it'll be fun.
I mean, Poton wins a few more, and I know people will, but the run he's on, it's also like people were quote tweeting the tweet they always do after they win. He signed in 2021. Like this run he's on is, in terms of sports,
It,
insane. It doesn't like it's not just MMA. This is just not real.
it's just the amount of time that it's taken to go from new signing. Like it's not like he was over in Bellator or
Mm-mm.
PFL was a champ and then came over. Like he was nobody in MMA. He was everything in kickboxing.
Yeah.
Came over and has started this run. And especially with his title fights, like having this run of title fights and title defenses so far is incredible.
And people will point out, oh, he hasn't fought a true grappler or whatnot, which is fair, but I'm just talking in terms of, I mean, even the Roundtree. I mean, Roundtree really gave him a run for his money, but at the end, the way he battered him was just, I mean, you wouldn't call it a dominant win, but it was a really, really good win, though. It
Yeah.
was a great performance.
Yeah. Really good performance. Exactly.
Okay, before we get into the a card and all of the betting options, I do want to shout out our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka, where we are finding our wins with New Amsterdam Vodka left and right. They've been supporting the show for a very long time. They've been with Barstool for a very long time. Pick Whitney, New Amsterdam, the classic bottle, the blue, the white. It's a spectacular brand, a spectacular vodka, a spectacular pink Whitney, pink vodka, pink lemonade vodka. We love New Amsterdam. This weekend, huge college football weekend, great boxing. Obviously, the NFL is always on. There's baseball, you can make anything with New Amsterdam vodka, Moscow Mule, just a vodka soda. You can take shots, anything you want. You're doing it with New Amsterdam vodka. And as we said, you can find your wins with New Amsterdam vodka. Shout out to New Amsterdam. Thank you for the support, and thank you for being a great tasting vodka that you can have. This is not a vodka that sometimes you hear about stuff and you're like, oh, that's an expensive vodka. New Amsterdam's a vodka you can have at 21, or you can have later in life too, and possibly you have a little bit more money. It's a vodka on the budget, but it doesn't taste like that. So shout out to New Amsterdam. Thanks for always supporting the show. And so, yeah, let's get into the card. I'm pulling up fightodds.io. I'll go in actually Tapology order. Just
yeah, I got it here, Jack. The first fight is Clayton Carpenter versus Lucas Roja.
Okay, so Clayton Carpenter.
He was
Dana White's Contender Series.
Yep. Hasn't fought in it.
And Clayton fought Edgar Shire as on Contender Series.
Yep.
And then, but this is his first fight in a minute.
Yeah. Ronderos was popular because he tested positive for cocaine after his fight.
I remember that.
So I throw that fight out. That fight means absolutely nothing. The Shires win's a good win. Because Shires has proven, like, he was sphere card against Van. Like, he's proven he can actually, like, just battle in more than anything. In this fight, Roja was on this season of last year's Contender Series. Had the really big knee knockout against the guy with the afro. That was that fight.
Mm-hmm.
Roja, he was scheduled against Jose Johnson and Joshua Van, pulled out of one of them. I just like Carpenter in this fight. He's a wrestler. He's been in the MMA lab system since a kid. So he's really had like 15 years of working with these guys. Really good wrestler, good striker, but better on the mat, better jiu-jitsu than anything. I just value that. Also, the line moved from at the beginning of the week. This was close to evens. This is now close to minus 200 for Carpenter. So people are betting Carpenter pretty heavy.
Yeah. I missed the line. I picked Carpenter to win this. I think it's a little wide at this point. I think it's a pretty good fight to start off the card, though. Two guys that are, young and have some potential. So I'm interested to watch. I don't have
Carpenter's sub 5-1's not bad, or sub 2-3. Sub 2-3 is like 14-1, 22-1. That's how I would look for this fight.
And Clayton Carpenter had a fight in May 2023 canceled against Steve Erceg. And the next fight, we have Cody Haddon against Dan Argueta. Cody Haddon fought Steve Erceg on the Aussie regional scene, and they had a great fight.
Yeah.
And that's Cody Haddon's only loss. We interviewed him, and maybe I'm having a little bit of a spinning back fist interview bias, but I think, it's tough. Argueta's such a veteran. He's such a tank. He's like a legitimate tank.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at Cody, and I think he may have the goods here to give Dan Argueta a very difficult time, especially if he gets out of round one.
Yeah, Argueta came in over today as well.
Oh, yep.
2.5 heavy. Weighed in at 38.5. It's either this for me. It's like, I think that Haddon is a better MMA fighter. But this fight may suck because Argueta is just going to be doing the same thing over and over to him. I ended up taking Fight Doesn't Go at plus money. Haddon has really crisp boxing, works the body, showed that in his Contender Series fight. Argueta also very good on top. Like, he can go and put in legs. He can work rear nakeds. Like, I think that's solid enough. I would take the under and just let it go from there. I'd probably lean Haddon to win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Argueta just out wrestles him for 2 rounds.
Cody's pretty good on the ground too, correct? Oh no, did we lose Lee? Are you back? Oh no, we lost Lee. He'll probably come back. In the meantime, it's just me. Main event of the evening, just Jack Mack right now. Lee will come back. But in the meantime, we are going to go to a fight that I believe is one of my favorite. Up, Lee's back.
Yeah, I mean, this is a running joke at this point.
I know, no.
My Wi-Fi sucks.
No, but it's been good though. Like it just like randomly went out.
I mean, I literally switched it before I came on here to that I could have a different connection because I knew if I did the other one, it would whatever. McKenna fight, right?
Yeah, and I was about to say before I let you back in here, I'll never. I don't think I'll ever quit Corey McKenna, and I kind of like her here.
Or the opposite.
Okay.
I bet Pilastri at minus 125. I think this under's crazy. I like fight doesn't go at like I think it's like plus 260, 275 on DraftKings. Like I get that this is a women's 115 fight, but McKenna's IQ in that last fight against Amarim was the single worst that I've seen in a long time, and probably worst this year. And I bet on Amarim. I bet on Amarim, and I bet on first round sub. Like I was overjoyed, but that was so stupid.
Corey McKenna's had unbelievable low IQ in her first fight, low against Elise Reed. All she had to do was just take her down. That's all she had to do, and she would have won in front of. She was fighting on England. It would have been a perfect starter to her career, and she didn't. And I like Corey's boxing. I think she has kind of an all-around game. It's not like my favorite bet on the card, but then again, it's like probably one of the best ways to avoid losing money betting on MMA is to avoid fighters that have shown low IQ moments. But
I like Pilastri because she just like she'll walk forward, she'll hit hard, and she's also big for 115. Like
so maybe the under. I mean, you're talking me into the under. Like maybe just instead of Corey, like it's just
Corey has good jiu-jitsu. Like they're going to be boxing for a long time, but I think Pilastri can catch her. Like, and no offense, but McKenna has like really pale skin, and if she's just on like the other side of like
that's
hard blows, like it's just in the apex especially like
that's a good point.
I don't know, this just seemed a little short to me.
All right, that's a good point. Next fight of the evening, is that the Tafa fight?
Yep.
So
and
Sean Sharaf, he fights at Extreme Couture.
Yeah, I was looking him up right before this. I'll be honest, because
and then also he used to be like ripped, but now he's just decided that I guess he's just like I'd rather go a heavyweight. I'll be honest, I will not be taking Junior Tafa minus 300. I don't think I can find a spot here to back Sharaf, but like Tafa is just a guy that
like. I want to take this over very badly. Like,
okay.
Yep. I want to, and I'm trying to hold myself back, but it's like over 1.5 is plus 230. Over half a round is minus 230. That's kind of crazy.
Over half a round minus 230?
Yeah.
That's kind of like
is that a parlay piece?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like, hey, if you just want to throw some things together, like
over 2.5 minutes, like I don't know how Sharaf's gonna do in like his first UFC fight. Obviously, he's knocked people out very quickly before, but like his 4 opponents are 1-4, 0-0, 0-1, and 3-1-1. Like nothing that great. In it, but I'll be honest though, I had Junior Tafa minus 270 against.
I think that's a good bet. That was a good bet though.
Huggy, yeah. Like I was pissed when Barnett pulled out. That was.
I also had under 1.5 minus 160. I think I bet one.
It's just like I couldn't believe that. I thought that was a wide line.
For the next fight, I will be right back. I just have to honestly go to the bathroom. I'll be
Yeah,
right
you're
back.
good. Okay. Okay, so the next fight is Garimbo versus Nico Price. And Garimbo right now is on a tear, honestly. Ever since he came to the UFC, ever since The Rock got him in the UFC in the first place, um, he's been tearing it up. Obviously, he had a couple of submissions recently, or he lost by submission to AJ Fletcher. He got he got a knockout over Pete Rodriguez. Forgot about that. But used the wrestling against Ramiz Brahimaj and also beat Takashi Sato in his 4 fights so far in the UFC. I'm personally not a big Nico Price fan. Nothing to do with his style, just more so just gambling in general. But that last fight against Alex Morono really was shocking to me. I know that Morono came in on short notice for that fight, and Price had a full camp, but I thought Morono was a lot better overall at just mitigating damage, moving out of the way, wrestling. He definitely, I thought, was better on the ground, and Nico proved me wrong. So um, I don't know really what to make of him. Nico's getting really old now. He's 35. I think his knees have just gone out a couple times at this point. Um, but you're gonna give me 3-1 on Nico Price versus Garimbo, and I'm not gonna say no to it. I think probably the under is a better play than anything. Under 2.5 minus 130 is where I would go over Garimbo moneyline, Garimbo sub. Like Nico Price puts himself in dangerous situations where he could end up getting a finish himself, like on like just end of the whistle, end of the bell type stuff. I would rather go under over picking a side.
Garimbo is a bit wide here, at least in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
I talked to yeah. Three
it's
to one
hard.
seems weird for
It's
Nico.
Yeah, and Nico's such a bizarre fighter because I thought he was washed, and then Morono, who's we'll talk about later. Morono's the guy that also uh, got made look like he's never trained before by Nico Price not too long ago.
Yeah.
So we're at a point here where I agree with you. I think it's better to target a total here, and Grimbo is on this wild run. Um, and Nico does put himself in tough positions, and also who knows, like maybe Nico finds something crazy.
Nico could find something crazy. Garimbo's like live for I think both a KO and a sub. Like we saw that Robbie Lawler punch on Nico. Like maybe that just hit perfectly, but Themba hits hard, man. And maybe he might not be the best striker in the world, but he does hit hard.
Yeah, he does, and he also has those long arms. I mean, his reach is insane. So yeah, yeah, maybe we'll see something here. I would target the under. That's the only way I'd really approach this fight because I really think Themba's wide and Nico, you can't really predict. I mean, but if anything, if you had to force me to bet this fight aside, I think I'd end up on Nico.
Yeah, I agree. The next fight is Jonathan Pierce versus Pat Sabatini in a all grappling fest for this fight. And there has been steady money this week on the under at this point. The under's down to plus 120 for the 2.5. We got minus 185 on Pierce, plus 154 on Sabatini. What do you got, Jack?
So this is fascinating because JSP was what, like minus 120 earlier in the week, minus 130?
Yeah.
And I kind of like JSP's a guy, is another guy. I mean, you can't quit him. Like it feels like he should be the leader of the free world, but then he says like get up and then he gets knocked out. Which I think that was your biggest bet of
That was
the year, right? And I was on it too.
That was my second. My biggest was BSD this year against Poirier.
So
But
two meme losses, like
yeah,
true memes. I
I,
think the JSP one was a bigger meme.
I agree.
And also, you had BSD at what, like plus
Got him
100?
at plus 140.
Yeah, like I mean, like, anyways, the JSP, but now he's up at minus. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of Pat Sabatini. Not as
I'm
a
not
person,
here.
like he's a good fighter. Like, don't get me wrong, but I just like I think he's kind of
This isn't the spot for Sabatini. Like Sabatini's
no,
great against guys that are like okay grapplers and better strikers. Like
yeah,
Almeida fight. Like the Almeida fight was perfect for Pat Sabatini. This fight against Pierce, I feel like it's just going to be very binary, and probably both of them are going to go for takedowns. Probably both of them are going to stuff each other, getting the takedowns. If one of them gets on top, that's probably the round at
yep.
that point. But I don't even think it's going to hit the ground. I think it's just going to be a 15-minute like stand-up striking fight. I took fight goes to distance at minus 150.
Okay.
And I'm going to take the over 2.5 again, or probably parlay the over 1.5 at this point because the price went down.
Who do you think has better cardio here? It's a wash.
Yeah, I think maybe Pierce has better for this fight specifically. Like if Sabatini gets it on the ground, I think he will have better cardio, like for grappling situations. Like that fits him more in his style. But Pierce, I think his style fits him more where he can kind of go anywhere and be fine. I just see this fight being on the feet for 15 minutes and neither one of these guys getting the other down.
Yep. I mean it is kind of like one of those when like you have two guys who are it's the opposite of this, but two guys who are under 1.5 is hit every single time in their career, and then they go up against each other and they kind of just stare at each other.
Yeah. 100%.
Next up, we have CJ Vergara against Ramazan Tamirov.
Yep.
Do you think there's a shot that we see CJ Vergara pull out a win in improbable fashion, which he has been known to do in his career?
I'm telling you, this line's getting close to bet it. Like
yeah, like I mean, I just saw it right now.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
I like this Taira guy though. I will say that. Like, he comes over from Ryzen. That was his last promotion. But like fought in the Inner Asia circuits, the Muradov circuit, basically. But he is a Uzbekistani or that doesn't wrestle at all. Like he just throws hands. And he throws missiles. Now, are they really the best? Like, does he have crisp boxing? No. But does he throw missiles and do they connect? Yes. So once again, I bet the under. I bet the under at plus money, or if fight doesn't go. CJ, he can take some shots, be fine, and give them back. So there was also in his Temirov's last fight, he got knocked down against a Japanese guy that I don't really think that high of. So, yeah, I like the under.
Yeah, it's like Tamirov like is such a fascinating guy to me because it's like he comes from a non-wrestling background, as you said, but like where does he develop that? Did he just like fight on because over there and Uzbekistan, correct me if I'm wrong, is quite good in Olympic, or were they not allowed? Were they not allowed?
No. They had good wrestling this past Olympics.
Yeah, so there's wrestling everywhere, but like you sometimes get these weird guys. You see the name and you're like, oh, he must be a wrestler. And
Ruzaboyev has like good grappling, but he doesn't really have wrestling. And then the other one that I can think of is Muradov. But then you got guys like Said Yakub Kakramanov.
Yep.
Like he has really good wrestling. So I don't know. Maybe a crapshoot, but
Time to get, by the way, time to get Kakramanov back in the UFC.
yeah,
Like,
I
I mean, I love a
karate
combat ninja, or what's it called?
karate combat.
Karate combat is phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, and I maybe he prefers it because he gets paid more or something. I don't know. But Kakramanov, I mean, was on his way to
He
beating
didn't
Saeed
say
Nurmagomedov 30-27.
yeah.
In a and he just kind of got caught in that. One of the greatest gillies.
Ninja
He
chokes. Yeah,
if you shoot on Saeed Nurmagomedov and you get caught in that, you're done. Like it's over.
that ninja choke is deadly for him.
All right. The next fight's canceled, right? Josh Fremd,
Yes.
which unfortunate again for Abdul. He's had some brutal luck. Then we have a fight, which
Uh,
I hate this fight, not because like I don't think it's interesting, but I like is he gonna make me bet on him again? Alex Morono against D Rod, plus 180 Alex Morono. Please tell me why I should not bet Alex Morono.
I want to fade both these guys. That's why you shouldn't
Yeah,
bet.
yeah.
I
That's a fair.
like why why should Daniel Rodriguez be a minus 225 favorite to anybody now? Like I I really don't think like he is a gangster, right? Like D Rod will fight anybody. Does that mean he should be like minus 2xx against anybody? No. And at the same time, Morono has shown me like that he is declining at a way faster rate than I thought he would have. I don't like either of these guys. They've burnt me both a number of times, and I don't even like this fight. Like to go like under or go over. I don't
No,
know.
this fight.
I'm at an impasse on this fight. I'm nothing on this fight.
I'll be honest. This fight is disgusting. Both these guys have given a lot to the UFC, so like it's great. They're getting paid again and whatnot. I don't hate
Yes.
either of these guys, but like at this point in their careers, and then I'm sure if you sat Hunter down and you're like, "Hey, I know you don't gamble and whatnot," but you'd be like, "Hey, this is like you got two." I would assume they probably have one or two fights left on their contract, and they're like,
D Rod just got a new contract for the Kelvin.
"Oh yeah, what am I? Yeah." Because he went, and then he had that video. He's like, "I got a new."
Yeah,
All right.
I got a 6 fight new deal and upgraded. Like D Rod's making bank now. Like whoever his manager is, like applaud yourself for that because D Rod's doing really well. He also has like a monster sponsorship, like outside of the cage, like he's doing well.
It's those tattoo mans, those tattoos.
Yes.
Like it's just like
He will fight
uh,
anybody.
all right. Next up, we have Grant Dawson against Rafa Garcia. Grant Dawson right now over at DraftKings is minus 410. Rafa Garcia comes back at plus 320. Grant Dawson to win by decision is minus 160. Is that short?
That's like 60%, right?
Yeah, like it. But if he's minus 410, Rob.
Yes. Like you're probably saying that like 80% of his win condition is by decision. Which I don't know about that. Like I think probably Dawson has way better jiu-jitsu than Rafa, but like Rafa's low-key a tank. And uh like so for this fight by itself, I parlayed Dawson and Junior Tafa initially when Tafa was against Barnett. And now that's gone. Like I bet Dawson at minus 380. I think Dawson should really be like minus 500 here. Like
Yeah.
I think it should be more. Like seriously, like the fluke, not the fluke, but like
No, you can call it that.
Bobby Green knocked him out, right?
You can call him that.
If Bobby Green doesn't do that, like I think this line is way bigger here because Dawson's probably facing like Jalen Turners of the world, like, and not Rafa Garcia's. Like there is a difference.
We were talking with Johnny Ablin, and that interview will come out next week. And I said, "Hey, like you were always the guy that people said, watch out for this guy. Like you don't know this guy enough over at American Top Team." everyone always talked about him. And I was like, who's the new Johnny Eblen? And he said, well, this isn't really fair to the guy because he's in the UFC, he's had main events and whatnot. But Grant Dawson, he couldn't speak more highly of Grant Dawson.
Yeah.
I think he's a really good fighter. He's not ideal for from the UFC perspective. He's kind of boring.
No, but like, what is his like round 2, round 3 sub like for this fight? Like,
I'll look at
11 to 1, 18 to 1 for 2-3. Like, maybe KO 2-3. Maybe like he ground and pounds. That's 28 to 1 and 40 to 1. Like, that's okay. But you're right. Like, he probably does need to win by finish like soon enough at this point.
And he probably knows it because also after his last fight, Dana really disrespected it.
Yeah. What fight was that again?
It was at MSG, right? Or maybe it was in LA.
Dawson against Selecki in New Jersey. You were there.
New Jersey, that's where it was.
Yeah. The Poirier fight. Well, Selecki has really good jiu-jitsu. Like, yeah. I'm actually like not that mad at that. Like, Dawson was able to really do well against a really good jiu-jitsu guy. Selecki is another one of those guys.
All right. Next up, you have Chitty Bang Bang, and Jucani against Jared Gooden.
Gooden missed weight, pound and a half, weighed in at 72.5 for this fight. What do you got?
I don't have a straight read on this one.
I'll be honest. I bet the under 2.5 minus 160. Still on DraftKings. Same price. I really just think these two guys are. I just see this fight finishing at a way higher percentage than 60% than I see them going to a decision. Like, I really just think it should be like between 70 and 80% rather than like close to 60. Like, Jared Gooden is in.
Oh, we lost him again. We lost him mid Jared Gooden. I was interested to see what he was going to say about Jared Gooden, but Jared Gooden, I also I've always liked Chitty. Chitty's a guy that goes for the finish. Right now, over. Are you back? You're kind of back. You're back. What were you saying about Jared Gooden?
I'm back. I'm good. There we go.
What were you saying about Jared Gooden? Can you hear me?
I just think that Gooden is a really fun fighter, kind of goes for it. And Jokawani will fight back, and he will throw in punches and throw heat at the same time.
I completely agree. I think right now you can get.
Oh, he's a fun fighter, and that last fight against Turman was in Austin, and that was a really good performance by him.
We're at we're getting like, okay, wait, are you here? Talk to me. I agree with Lee. He'll probably come back, but I agree. Under 1.5 right now is over on DraftKings plus 140. You can get under 2.5. Our fight doesn't go the distance, minus 200. That is a good parlay piece. I think we may even see the under 1.5 plus 140 is good. Both these guys go for it. Up next, we have the co-main event of the evening. I don't know if they're really calling it a co-main. I'm going to remove and get this Lee in. What's up? No, we got 2 more fights, and
that was.
Just so you know, I agreed with you. I agreed with you on the read. Fight doesn't go is maybe a good parlay piece. Under 1.5 is also kind of maybe a good look. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, completely.
Perfect. second to last fight of the night. It is Brad Tavares against Jung Young Park. Jung Young Park right now is minus 205. Brad Tavares comes back plus 170. The under 2.5 right now is plus 220. Do you see any value here, Lee? Anywhere? Any props?
Yeah. I think this is low-key a ridiculous under. And I bet it at plus 190. It's gone up to 220 now. I like Park. Park's one of my guys, the Iron Turtle. Great nickname.
Yep.
But I don't know if he should really be like minus 200 against the Brad Tavares that is like impossible to take down. And if it's on the feet, Tavares is going to be throwing harder. And Park's shown that he has like not a flimsy chin, but he can get cracked. And Tavares in that last fight showed like they both got knocked out by RoboCop.
Yep.
And that's like RoboCop has insane power. Like I put him on the Pereira level of power, truly. But this under is honestly a crazy line to me. And like if this under is plus 220, why is Park KO plus 330? Like
yeah.
That doesn't make sense in my head. So I like Brad Tavares in the under.
Yeah,
like,
no, me too. Brad
I feel
Tavares.
like
And then you could get Brad Tavares inside the distance upwards of 7-1. And like if you are thinking about how this fight plays out, it's a like Lee just said, if you can't get Jung Young Park down, or if Jung Young Park can't get him down, what's this fight going to look like? I feel it, and also it could just be a crazy slugfest too. Which, if you don't want to take Tavares inside the distance, you could just take the under, and it's up there at plus 225 right now. And yeah, let's say Jung Young does get him down. There is a chance that gets finished on the ground too. It's not like these two guys are kind of like don't punt, they don't throw hard, or they don't have finishing ability. Both guys have shown it. I mean, Brad less so, but it is what it is.
It's like one of those fights that I don't like. These two guys are usually in like the same type of fights, but I think Parks is way more like reliant on the ground, and Brad I don't think will really let him get it to the ground.
Yes, completely agree. Now for the main event of the evening, Tatsuro Taira against Brandon Royval. And I am a huge Tatsuro Taira fan, but is this line crazy?
Yes. Short answer. Yes. Crazy.
Also,
250 now.
I think Tatsuro Taira didn't get enough credit for what he did against Alex Perez, but now I'm looking at this line. I'm like, did he get too much credit? Like maybe like he dropped the first round, and then he gets on Perez's back, and then kind of hits this. He may have meant it, but like Perez's knee just gives out, and then Brandon Royval's been in wars and fights with the best of the best, and he's shown that he's right there. Guys have shown that they're better than him, but he's right there. And now he's plus 250 against Taira. I'm looking at this like, wait, I'm a big fan of Taira. I think he's a future champion. But at a certain point, he shouldn't be more than, I would have even said if he was minus 250, minus 225, that's a little bit wide.
I would have capped this at like minus 180 plus 150 range.
Yeah, and
200 and 170. Like maybe this is just like because a couple of reasons why, right? Like Taira probably is going to take Royval's back at some point, and Royval's had problems with like people on his back within jiu-jitsu, like in the UFC. Um, at that same time, it's just like I think Royval is just going to kind of just scramble around and really just do the same game plan he had versus Moreno. He's going to apply that the same way to Taira. This is Taira's biggest test by a long shot. Um, Royval's fought the who's who and everybody in the division. One thing to note, though, for sure, is that Royval has left um, the his last team, Factory X, in Colorado, and he's been training by himself in his garage with a couple other people. There's a bunch of fighters out of Factory X. There's Alex Hernandez last week. He's gone. Jonathan Martinez, he's gone. I think Josh Friend might as well.
Is
Like
something happening there?
There's been I think that there's more than what people have been saying there.
All right, you can tell me after the show.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know exactly. Truthfully,
okay.
I don't know exactly. But I just like there's been too many people that have left recently that have like that it doesn't make sense. But especially because Royval's been like a Factory X guy since day one.
And it's a highly respected gym at least until like this movement out. Now that is a big part but of leaving and fighting on your own. But Royval is a guy I kind of think of as a guy that's like he is someone who he is now is who he is.
Yeah.
Maybe he could go somewhere and get a % better or whatnot. But it's not like he's young and he's moving gyms left and right. That's a huge red flag.
Yeah.
Maybe this is even beneficial. I'm not going to put that as part of my handicapping here, but I don't know if it affects me to the point where I don't want to bet it.
Yeah. No, and especially I think plus 250 like kind of takes that edge away. Like
yeah,
you're getting a good enough price now where it's just like, hey, if this was happening regardless or not, I'm fine with taking it at this point. So I took plus 230 and I took the under 4.5 minus 130 or 40, something around there. Basically just fight doesn't go. I think Taira can stop it. Royval's also been a pretty decent finisher as well. And he's always in fun, exciting fights that has action. So I really just think it's gonna come down to those little moments.
Fight ends inside the distance, I think, is a great look here. I think along with Royval, if you want to combine the two, you can. But there is a chance Taira does find something. I mean, he's incredibly talented. So the under, obviously, minus the fight that ends inside the distance right now at DraftKings is minus 160. Before we get out of here, we do want to talk about the massive fight next weekend. PFL, Battle of the Giants. Hanan Federa against Francis Ngannou returns to the cage. Johnny Eblin's fighting. Larissa Pacheco's fighting. AJ McKee against Paul Hughes is fighting. We'll be doing a lot for this next week, but we just want to remind you right now, you can even go and buy it right now. ESPN Plus pay-per-view or DAZN. It's next Saturday, 4 p.m. is the pay-per-view. Prelims before that. We will be locked in on that fight. It's a great fight. Can't wait to see how that goes down. And before we get out of here, Lee, any thoughts on the boxing tomorrow? We have Beterbiev against Bivol. Two Russians who are technically Russian. They're both from like kind of these properties of Russia and whatnot. But these are two massive fighters who are beasts that are going up against each other in their prime. I cannot wait.
Everybody's talking about like, who do you think people talked more about? Bivol, like this week?
Oh, well, Bivol has this weird thing with his baby mama, like ex-wife, and then
I just stuck away from that.
Yeah, and then she's like claiming that he's injured, but so I would say that's been on my timeline a little bit more, but both guys have kind of been on my radar this week in terms of just like I see people talking about it. And honestly, I don't think this fight, and I don't think it's particularly anybody's fault, but both these guys aren't huge names in America. But this fight hasn't gotten its
It's
eyes on it.
new, yeah.
That because
It's new eyeballs.
this is one of these fights that is like in our boxing generation, one of the biggest fights we've been around for.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I think I'm going to end up going with Beterbiev and Fight Doesn't Go, and I think that's just like Beterbiev. I think is a little bit bigger than Bivol.
Yep.
Bivol moving up for this fight. I do, if memory serves me correctly, Beterbiev takes a little bit to get into it, but those late rounds. They kind of are very similar, Bivol and Beterbiev, but this just screams really close fight and one that's going to be really good. And I would just rather have the under in case one of them starts to take away from it. And I think Beterbiev being a little bit bigger, maybe it should be like evens minus money a little bit for Beterbiev. Like I'd rather just get him at plus money and be fine with it.
And both guys made weight.
Yep.
And this is one of those that's like boxing even more so than MMA. It's like you really wanted to see him on the scale, and like people pull out last second. But this is going down in Saudi. You know, not to glaze them too much, but they've really changed boxing in terms of like just making these big time fights happen. And both these guys, I'm sure, are going to make an insane amount of money. Good for them. So yes, that is it. We will be back next week. Thank you, Lee, for hopping on a Friday night. Anyone who's still here in the chat, whatnot, thank you for joining us on a Friday night. We got this in. Tomorrow, some great fights tomorrow.
Great fights.
And then we'll be watching college football and baseball. Yeah, there's baseball tomorrow.
It's a great sports day.
Great sports day. Thank you to everybody for tuning in and listening.
Follow,
like, subscribe, comment. And we'll see you again soon.